My name is Dina Mantilia, and I am here today with the co-founders of the CloudFit Software team, Joe and Carol. So before we get started with our little interview, why don't you guys take a moment just to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about how you got started with this? Not how you got started with the company, but just how you got started with your, technical career.
Hey, Dana, thanks for having us. Joe Martin, I'm the president and CEO of CloudFit. I'm one of the co-founders, as you had mentioned. Um, Prior to CloudFit, I was a longtime Microsoft guy. I was there for about 13 years. I met Carol Moon my first day on the job there. We've been fast friends ever since. Our families have gotten to know one another. Prior to that, I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Uh, Now have a place part-time in Lynchburg, which is where our company is headquartered. And honestly, got started in the engineering field back in the dot-com era, kind of stumbled my way into technology, and have been fortunate to work at great companies like Microsoft and to be great friends and business partners like Carol Moon.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's fantastic.
Carol, I'm Kelman, one of the founders and CPO of CloudFit, long-term Microsoft guy as well. About 18 years there, most of the time in the product groups, getting to help start, build, and run what is now Office 365, as well as Xbox Live. I spent some time in the field doing some consulting as well, but left to start CloudFit to help customers move to the cloud and run their workload securely in the cloud, which is where this MC discussion comes in. But Lynchburg, Virginia guy, spent some years in living in Charlotte and traveled back and forth to Redmond, Washington for a couple of decades with Microsoft, but live in Lynchburg at my home city.
All right, fantastic. And you guys do have quite a story that you kind of touched on a little bit with Microsoft. So let's talk a little bit about how did CloudFit Software get started?
Yes, I'll go first. Again, as I mentioned, Carol was one of the first guys I met when I joined Microsoft back in 2005. So in my mind, that's really when our CloudFit journey began. I don't think we knew it then, but really what happened over the next decade. So Carol and I worked together for maybe a year and kind of went our separate ways. Carol went into the product group, and I want him to talk more about what that means. He and his team, which is now most of the senior CloudFit technical leaders, we're literally the cloud pioneers who helped build and run the Microsoft cloud. Conversely, I stayed in the field with Microsoft. I ran different businesses and sales teams, including part of the federal business. I was an Army veteran for 10 years. I failed to mention that earlier. So just developed a lot of great connections. But what I think over that 10 years, again, Carol can talk a little bit about really the deep experience and very unique capability that we were able to pull forward, which has now become key to the CloudFit story. But fast forward 10 years at Microsoft, in roughly 2015, Carol and I came back together to grow and run this incubation consulting business for Microsoft for North America. And what that meant was, is we all know big customers struggle with the subtle nuances of how you move to the cloud, and mainly how do you operate once you get there. And so we were basically charged with, Carol to take all his immense cloud experience, package that up almost into SKUs and best practices. Conversely, was a sales guy, so I knew most of the sales teams in the field. So my job was to then integrate that into the field sales strategy to help all of our customers operate in a more modern and seamless way. What we noticed over that probably 2 to 3 year period, we engaged maybe over 2,000 customers. Is every customer in some form had the same question? Hey, the policies are great, the consulting's great. Can you just run this cloud app or workload for me? And the simple answer was no, that's not a core strategy of Microsoft. So again, you fast forward, we had this epiphany and began to have conversations with Microsoft senior leadership that, hey, if Microsoft's not going to run workloads in the cloud and be a managed service provider, why don't Carol and I go start a company and basically become the partner that makes cloud easy for Microsoft customers? So 4.5 years later, that's what we've done.
That is awesome. So, Carol, do you want to add anything in there about all of your technical knowledge?
I don't know how much technical knowledge I for a while said or wrote, experience is simply the name we give our mistake. And so I think that's probably more of it than anything. It's not so much knowledge. It's maybe that I made more mistakes than everybody else. And that's because we got to get started early. I think of it as concentric circles. We got to build and run Microsoft's clouds for hundreds of millions of users and millions of customers. And we learned a lot of things the hard way. We broke tools. We with scale, with that kind of scale, you break tools, you break processes, you break people, unfortunately. And so what I've always wanted to do is take what we learned scenario wise and the inside of that concentric circle diagram and move it. So how do we take the things that we learn and help customers move their stuff to the cloud, run it in the same way and not make the same mistakes that we made over a couple of decades building and running those clouds. So that's really the crux of what we're, and all those people that were key to all the organizations I ran was blessed to lead at Microsoft. All of those key people that were part of that journey, making the same and having that same learning. Those are the folks, as Joe mentioned, that are here with us now. So either we've got other videos with Mark Miller, some of those folks, Mark and I've been together as an example. The year 2000, we've been at it for a long time together.
Well, you guys have such an amazing story. There are not many companies that could possibly hold a candle to your whole background and the whole Microsoft experience and everything. So that's absolutely fantastic. So one thing I want to get into now is exactly who would you say is your ideal client? I know that you guys work on both DoD and commercial, and that complements each other. So, touch base on whatever you want to talk about right now as far as who you would think your ideal client is.
Yeah, great question. And let me give a paint a little history, Dana, if I could. So, as I mentioned, we as we left Microsoft with Microsoft support, not financial backing, but simply their acknowledgement that we needed to go fill this niche in the market. If we could do it at Microsoft, let's go be the partner who creates the easy button. There were a handful of important customers in the commercial space, regulated industries, think hospitality, the credit cards you use, the airlines that you fly. And so we basically stepped out in a subcontract fashion to help those customers largely with what we did before consulting, but with a more of a hands-on approach. Right? How do we help you run things? How do we help you with identity or security, et cetera? And intentionally, that was the strategy as we began to build out some automation, IP, and tooling, which Carol and his team, had envisioned for a long time, really needed to happen in the industry. Intentionally, from the beginning, we built to be a company. So the way we built our architecture and tooling, the fact that we are U.S. citizen only, and the way we hire, we knew we would get clearances and do DoD-based work. So it took us about 12 to 18 months to work into that space. So some of the larger commands, the mission commands, warfighter system. We got into 2 or 3 sizable DoD contracts fairly rapidly for a small company. And as we did that, it really helped us accelerate mainly the tooling and the automation. You can imagine the security posture required, the controls, the configurations necessary, the monitoring, the goal of continuous authority to operate those government systems. And so over about an 18-month period, it really sparked us to go from what the government typically sees as a very manual accreditation process to us basically codifying rules and configurations in our tooling to help accrediting officials in real time achieve continuous compliance. So we're not looking at paperwork necessarily. We're looking at real-time dashboards of compliance. They can make decisions daily on the security and health of the system. So then along comes the CMC. I'm kind of leading up to the ideal client. And in my opinion, we started a commercial. We went at DoD, heavy security and automation experience. Really, if you think about what we did there to automate continuous compliance for those accrediting officials, it's the same thing now required by CMMC clients, specifically CISOs and CTOs in this DIB space. And so for us, the ideal client is really not about size or market. Obviously, to take the speed of innovation, the cyber rigor that we have that fits perfectly in this CMMC space. So for example, for Microsoft, they will call them the top 11 or 12 DIB customers. We won't mention names, but if you look at Fortune 50 defense contractors, you'll see who those are. We today work with 8 of those 11 large DIB companies in this CMMC compliance arena. On the other end of the spectrum, we have customers. Think about small startups. I mean, CloudFit themselves are a DIB customer. We have small startups with 5 or 10 employees who have one government contract, yet they still need to be CMMC compliant for the deadline. So we have a broad array of size of customer, but the same experience, automation, and tooling to achieve CMMC compliance applies to us. In my opinion, we kind of had the perfect storm of having the DoD rigor to now bring that back to the hundreds of thousands of DIB customers who need CMMC. I think is the ideal sweet spot for CloudFit.
I agree. And, most Most MSIs or solution providers in DoD only do DoD. And there's two reasons for that. One is most of the time, the people that have been working at DoD for 20 years, they've been working on the systems they're working on, which aren't cloud. And so most of the folks that do DoD don't have the experience to really go push cloud. That's why. And two, the margins are usually better in DoD. So they're like, well, if I've got, one guy, I'm going to have him work on DoD because I can make more on that one guy. That's great, but that's not us. Like for us, it's intentional. We do commercial with some of the biggest companies in the world, including Microsoft. And I always say we didn't used to be product group. We still are. We've got teams of people that are CloudFit FTEs inside the Office 365 product. We've got a team of people inside the Azure product group working as core engineers within those products. So we know those products. We do commercial that way because it makes us attractive to DoD. DoD, we're as good as it comes in terms of cybersecurity and ATO and all that. That makes us, the cybersecurity chops that we have from DoD makes us attractive to commercial. And so it's an intentional strategy for us that we do both. And so the ideal customer is a DoD client, needs to move to the cloud. The ideal customer is a commercial client that needs to be secure. And it just so happens CMMC sort of sits, CMMC customers that have to deal with CMMC sit sort of at the center of that, kind of commercial, kind of DoD. And we do both. And the other thing I'll mention is, everybody worries about the fact that CMMC is sort of a moving target. What's happening with the C3PLs and what's happening with CMMC V2, level 2, and what do we do? And how do we interpret business control? Like, we're doing sovereign stuff in DoD. We're doing have infrastructure on Azure and Office 360. If we take and do exactly what we do, IL5 infrastructure for a DoD customer, we do it for a commercial customer. It's an exact, like I could run DoD systems, DoD UI through this. We're not going to have a problem. The same scorecards that I'm using at DoD, same automation, same tooling, same dashboard, same all of that, we're running for these commercial customers. So there's not a discussion, and we're not aiming at making up a target to aim at. We're hitting the targets. We're in a bullseye every time because it's the CUI IL5 target that we're just applying back.
CloudFit Software serves the U.S. government and commercial clients. All of their customers receive Department of Defense level cybersecurity. With hundreds of years of combined Microsoft experience, their patents, IP, and automation make the cloud easy, secure, and compliant. Whether you are a medium-sized organization or an international enterprise, CloudFit provides end-to-end solutions to navigate and secure your cloud journey. Need to achieve CMMC? CloudFit makes the process simple and will be by your side every step of the way. For more information, please visit us online or call our office today. Well, and what's great too that I know through some of the other interviews that I've done is that you can work, like you just mentioned, with different size companies and all that kind of stuff, but you have the level of expertise that you can also tailor it to their specific needs. So, certain companies may need X, Y, and Z, and certain may just need Z and plus something else. And you're able to, you don't just put them into one box and everybody's got to fit into this. And that I thought was fantastic too, because not only can you attract the commercial customers because of your expertise on the DoD side, you can also serve, like you said, a bunch of different sizes and anybody that needs whatever the specific certification is. And like you said, with CMMC, that's all over the road as far as size of organizations that are going to require that certification. So that's awesome. That really, really is. So now getting a little bit more specific, is there any specific, business niche that you would say is that you best serve? And
I think, honestly, we grew up in the big boy space. So these big customers are our sweet spot. And then smaller customers that have big customer requirements, which this happens on the CMMC bank, that's everybody. But we are a big enterprise IT provider that we do it, but then we take what we learn and what we automate at these big guys and make it applicable to the medium folks and the small folks. And again, I always used to say we're there for the big guys that have big requirements, and the smaller folks who have the same requirements or operate like they're a big guy. But again, with CMMC, it's the whole gamut. If you've got one government contract, one DoD contract, and one employee, you're still beholden to CMMC requirements. You're either going to do it or you're going to go and comply, or you're going to stop doing the work. And so everybody has the same requirements in that way, but we're really not big boy, not necessarily in the big boy prices, because automation lets us do it more cost effectively. We always say twice as good, twice as fast, half the price of what everybody else is there to do. We're not there to consult or talk about it. Like, here's your plan. Good luck, Mr. Customer. So, no, I don't even want to talk about it. Let me just know how to execute. Yes, your business is unique. We're going to ask you these 5 questions, and we're going to roll in, and we're going to execute. And what you'll spend talking about it with somebody else, we'll have it into production and be managing it for you with that same amount of money, and we'll go faster.
And I'll cap that by saying, I think one niche is, in this space, we turn, to Carol's point, we turn down customer engagements when we don't feel like, it's not that the customer's not bought in, but our approach is typically very different. We don't show up with consultants for weeks and produce documents that sit on the shelf, or we don't ride along in a consulting fashion and explain day over day why we do things differently. We do it differently because of 25 years of proven experience and codified rules in an automated system that literally the time to market is 5x, 10x what most typically can do. And it's simply because of the experience, the expertise, and the automation. So I would say that is a niche for us, is we have many conversations with customers that may or may not go anywhere because they just can't get their head around the paradigm shift. Does just let us own it. We may bring you along, and at some point we may turn aspects over to you, but the way you do modern O&M, continuous compliancy in this space with a mandate, we want to ensure customer success, which means we believe we have to do it our way.
And your way is probably absolutely positively right with all that experience you have to back it up. So that sounds like the right way to go about it. So now let me ask you this. So when you're talking within the organizations that you're doing business with, and who is the potential decision maker? Are they a technical person? Are they a non-technical business owner? Who are you typically speaking to?
There's 2 types of projects, those that go seamlessly and those that don't. And we try to stay away from those that don't. We work with the technical people, but the decision makers are the executive. So it's who is accountable, company X, who is accountable if that company has to stop doing BOD work in December 2025. That's our sponsor. And then from there, it's going to come top down, or we're going to go CMMC. CloudFit's going to help us with CMMC, work with them. Versus bottom up, if we start with the technical people, even if the technical people have budget authority to work with us, it's too much sort of discussing things that don't need to be discussed, Like, well, maybe we could do it this way, maybe we could do it that way. No, like, let's use the 80-20 rule. Here's the 100 event controls for Office 365 GCC high tenant need to be configured. Here's how we recommend configuring them. And if we've got to talk about changing them, let's have a direct discussion. It's number one, we need cadence with the executive team to be able to report and remove blockers, so that if we do have a technical person that just wrapped around the axle on control number 32, let's have a discussion with their decision, and works way better for everybody if we have the right executives to start with. And oftentimes we don't even engage with the customers. I mean, there's a couple 100,000 customers that are involved in the CMMC. Not all of them, as Joe said, not all of them want to take our approach, and not all of them want to play at the executive level, and we need to play to get this done for it. We take accountability to get them where they need to be. And so to do that, we need blockers removed. So we need to be playing at that executive level. It's not that we won't serve everybody. We're happy to serve everybody, but there is a customer that is willing to do it the way, basically stand on the shoulders of our experience and our automation and our platform, number one. And then number two, give us the right executive sponsorship so that we're not hard chasing our tails about things that don't. We know it needs to be locked down this way. We know we need to do private keys this way. We know we need to turn off your ability to put a USB drive in your desktops that we're managing. We don't need to discuss that. And if we do, then that executive is the one that's going to be talking to the auditor. We need to lay out the pros and cons and using DoD terminology. Sir, or ma'am, here are your COAs, your courses of action. Pick one. Here's the pros and cons. We recommend number 2. What would you like to do? So the executive relationship is really, really.
Yeah, and I would even make a plea here, not as a sales pitch, but really for us, it's a stewardship conversation. We feel obligated that with the experience and approaches we take, with the success we've had, customers, our customers are important, but really important customers doing business with the government they need to hear a very, uh, a very assertive point of view. And I think we play well to that. So I would say for the CISOs or CTOs or executive leaders today who are confounded by their own organizations or by multiple approaches for different CMMC vendors, um, we'd love to share the point of view, whether it went anywhere or not. It's somebody, whether the customer, someone else, or CloudFit will have to help customers enable the CMMC compliancy. We would love to, again, offer our point of view in that stewardship conversation for anyone who would need that.
Yeah, most companies would be glad to say, customer, you don't want me to drive it or to help drive it through and with your people. You just want me to consult with you, and you're going to pay me a lot to do that. Most companies would be happy to take their money and help them. That is not us. Look, there's other people out there for that. We're not here to talk about it, And so out of, even if there were only 100,000 companies, pick a number, some percentage of them want to actually get it done. And that's where we come in. We're not there to take their money to talk about it. We're there to help take a little bit of their money to help, because we got to pay our bills to help them actually execute and achieve the outcome they need.
Well, one thing I do think is very, very, very important that separates you guys from a lot of people is that you both and a lot of the members of your team have the ability to talk non-technical terms that a non-technical business owner is going to be able to follow. And that is a lot easier said than done, because you are both very, very extremely intelligent people. And there are a lot of very intelligent people in your field, but they cannot translate what they're trying to say to that C-suite of people. And so that's why they can only talk technical, and then it tends to kind of go over the executives. So that's another huge advantage that you guys have, and you can tell just by talking to you and some of the other members of your team. So that's a big kudos.
Thank you.
All right. So now, how can everybody get in touch with you guys?
CloudFitSoftware.com. And on that webpage is the front door to the company in terms of email address. That's getfit@CloudFitSoftware.com. And then the phone number, corporate phone number is out there. But that's the best way. Hit us up with the account management team out there for you. We can point you to our, we're in the midst of revamping our website as well, as you know, Dana. And so that new website will be live. Updated website will be live probably in January, if not before. And so a lot of what people are looking for on our website will be front and center and easier to find, especially around CMMC. But yeah, the CloudFitSoftware.com, the phone number, the email address are there. Just hit that, and we will. I always tell customers, you'll never wait on us. The team is very responsive, and everything we do is with a servant leadership, servant mentality. And so we understand that customers have tight deadlines, and most customers that come to us want to move quickly. And so we take pride in the fact that we move very quickly, even on our responsiveness to customer inquiries.
We both still to this day directly pick those inquiries up directly. So send them our way, please.
All right. Well, that's good. They'll be talking right to the big dogs. All right. So now before we go, I would like to see if you guys could share something that you enjoy doing outside of work. You're obviously very, very busy during the workday. And what is something that, just you enjoy doing when you're not at work?
Yeah, I'll start, and I think you're going to see a common theme. It's really ramped up in family, right? We all work a lot of hours and we travel, so it's always been about family. I've been married for 27 years. My beautiful wife. I have two sons. One's in med school. One's in Atlanta. He's now off the payroll working, in the real world. So any chance we get to get together as a family, typically on the water. We love to be on the lake. We love to the beach. Love to play golf with the kids. So really, it's very family centric. Carol's going to tell you much of the same. And if we have a minute, we'd actually be remiss if we didn't go into a little bit about some of this common theme of family and kids, and how we serve kids. That's a big part of really why we started CloudFit. It was about a unique capability or niche in the market. It was about creating a company culture that we both wanted to drive, but it was also about charities and giving back. So with that, I'm going to kind of tee Carol up and let him talk about his family and what he likes to do as well.
Yeah, so I was married for 23 years to my beautiful wife. I've got two children. My daughter's a freshman in college. She's in art school up in New York, and my son is a sophomore in high school. He's our athlete. He's an All-American track kid and a big quarterback. So that takes up a lot of our time and passion. But as Joe mentioned, we started actually 3 501c3 nonprofits when we started CloudFit. So CloudFit is a for-profit company whose mission is to do what all the stuff we've been talking to you about this whole time, Dana. But that's sort of priority number 2, because we wanted, through serving through this IT stuff, we want to make money like any company does, but we want to make money so we can give it away. And so the 3 charities, one is called KidFit. That is a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to provide hope and opportunities to kids using sports and athletic training as the enabler. The short version of that is only rich kids, personal trainers and travel ball. That's not fair. I don't really care about the personal trainers. I don't really care about the travel ball. What I care about is the hope and opportunity that come through those activities. What I care about are the life lessons that are learned through those activities. It's grit, it's teamwork, it's never give up, it's be a good teammate, it's those things. And so KidFit exists as a 501c3 nonprofit. CloudFit, as it grows, its milestones literally in the bylaws of the company, KidFit. And so that's a wonderful thing. And every minute we spend working at CloudFit is working for KidFit. And so that's about hope and opportunities for kids. And then secondly, there's another 501c3 nonprofit called JobFit. And JobFit is about hope and opportunities for adults and young adults using IT careers and IT training. So it's for high school students, college students, career changers, so they can get into the field. You know, all of us are blessed to be in the field of IT and the earning potential. It's a catch-22 though. You can't get into the field unless you have a job, and you got to have a job to get a job, basically. And so we're aiming to fix that. We've been really blessed. We've had folks come through that program that came to work for us. We've had folks that work for HP, Google, Tesla, Space Force. That's like we have, I believe, proven that we can take high school, college, and career changers, those students, and make it. And so that's another big passion of ours. First year that we existed, we had 2 interns. That summer it was 15, and we're going to keep growing. That's putting our money where our hearts are. And then thirdly is another one, Monument Vets. I'll let you talk about that one.
Yeah, so Monument Vets is a local charity here. Lynchburg is an extremely patriotic city. Several monuments and tributes here. Just beside our buildings, we're in a 20,000 square foot historically renovated office building in downtown Lynchburg. We've been here for a couple of years. Just adjacent to the building are a set of steps that go from Church Street to Court Street, and there's 7 different terraces. They're called Monument Terrace. At each terrace, there's a tribute to every major conflict or war. And in fact, at the bottom of the terrace, there's a big doughboy statue that says, this is how old this thing is. It says, in tribute to the Great World War. So they didn't even know there were going to be 2 at the time. But the unique thing is for every Friday at 11 o'clock, at 11 a.m., since 9/11, a group of veterans has rallied on that terrace to show support for our nation and our soldiers and our veterans. Rain or shine, so it's been well over 2,000, Fridays they've spent there. We basically simply developed this charity it sounds simple, but it's a huge impact. Our folks will set up a tent for the older veterans. They set up they call it the CloudFit Canteen. So it's snacks and coffee and that kind of thing. And just the amount of gratitude and thanks we get. And it's not about us, right? We did it to just in some small way serve those veterans. And from there, we've learned that Lynchburg is a very connected. There's 7 large veteran organizations who all are very intermingled and work together. So through Monument Vets, we've actually kind of spidered out and are able to help other veterans in the community. We have a dozen vets or so that work at CloudFit, so it's just a big point of pride to be able to give back in some way.
Wow, that is amazing. Those 3 charities that you put together. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. And you should be very proud of the work that you're doing, because that's just amazing. I mean, helping the kids, helping the vets, helping get into the IT career, because as you mentioned, that there's not really an easy path that's too set up for that. So that's fantastic. So kudos to you guys. That's great. I'm glad you shared that with us so we can let the world know that you're doing good things like that. So, well, this is really, really fantastic, guys. I really appreciate your time and all of the awesome information that you gave me and you're able to share about your company. So thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.